Hey there, it's Ashton. I hope you're all doing well. We wanted to do this lockdown a bit differently and try to provide the students with videos on things that you can be working on throughout your free rides. So today we have Vanessa who is exercising Bella, and she ran through a couple of exercises that are good for every rider to practice. So some of these may be more basic exercises. However, they are very good for even more advanced riders, such as Vanessa, to put into their daily routine to practice. So, as you can see, Vanessa started out her ride on a nice long rein walk. She was walking left, she's going to change direction. Now, she was walking for quite a while before this, and she did some trot and some canter. So, you're seeing a small snippet of her ride so that we don't have too long of a video here for everybody. But it's a nice long rein and a relaxed walk. She's going to go ahead and get started in the trot. So she's got a nice posting trot. You can see Vanessa didn't have to look down for her posting diagonal. So if that's something that you're still working on, that's something you can think about. Here you see her pass another rider. She passes left to left. So that's always ring etiquette and ring safety. You pass the other riders left to left. You can also say heads up. You can also say inside or outside, so that if you're going a different direction, that nobody ends up in a collision. So again, she's just starting on a pretty relaxed trot here. We can talk a little bit about position. So weight's down in the heels, eyes are up, hands are out in front of you. Ideally, there's a pretty straight line, as you can see there, from the bit to the elbow. The lower leg's underneath you, so not too far forwards, not too far back. Very good. So Bella looks nice and warmed up. She's had an opportunity to trot both ways. I always like to start in the posting trot to allow their backs to warm up versus a sitting trot that could be a bit more rigid for them, especially on a cold day, as we're going to experience here in January. So you can see now Vanessa's starting to do a few transitions. She went trot, walk, halt. We try and stand for 4 seconds, 2, 1. Very good. And walk back to trot. Good. And I think we could all agree that the downward transition, Bella was a bit rigid, but for today, and the horses have been off for quite some time, we're keeping that a realistic expectation. So here, she's going to do a few more transitions. So now we're going trot to walk, a few steps of walk, back to trot. And she's going to make that transition one more time. Very good. So gauging if your horse is listening to your leg. So when you ask them to go forward, do they move forward? How much leg are you having to use? Ideally you're using a 1 out of 3, 3 being a lot. If you find that you're having to use a 3 out of 3 with your leg, that's a really good time for a cluck or a stick. Hopefully we'll be able to cover stick usage in a different video. So again, here we're just changing direction in the trot. And you can see a little bit Vanessa's legs having to work, so Bella's probably a bit lazy. For the purpose of this video, I tried to just, have her focus on position exercises. All right. We can see there that maybe Vanessa's asking the pony to move forward, so maybe asking for a little lengthening and collecting. Yeah, that's what it looks like. Very good. And into the sitting trot to help with the collection. And posting trot, again, she doesn't have to look down for the posting diagonal. She feels it. Trotting forward, asking the pony to come forward from the leg, and back to the sitting trot. Reins are maybe a fraction long, but she does a good job of keeping her hands up. All right, so now we're just gonna pause the video for a second and just as a reminder, so you want to be taking frequent walk breaks. And in our first week back to lessons, we're going to encourage everybody to do a lot of work in the walk and the trot, and then just a little bit of work in the canter because the horses have been on holidays for a few weeks now. So now Bella's back to the trot. And the first thing we see her doing, Vanessa, is up in a 2-point. So the 2-point is where we raise our seat off the saddle and we bend at the hip angle, and then we slide our hands up to the crest of the neck. So what you can do is you can go into a 2-point on the long side of the arena and the posting trot on the short sides. And again, back up into the 2-point, the heels stay down, the eyes stay up and parallel to the ground. The hands stay bit width apart, and back to posting trot through the short side. You can see as Vanessa changes direction, she puts the crop into her new inside hand. And you always want to think about carrying your inside leg at the girth, your outside leg slightly behind. This next exercise is one of my favorites. So what you'll see is Vanessa's alternating between 2 steps or 2 beats in the half seat, and then she's sitting for 1. So I like to think of this as the rhythm of up, up, down versus up, down, up, down, up, down. So again, up, up, down, up, up, down, up, up, down. And what this does is it makes you have to think about keeping your weight down in your heel and in your lower leg. If your leg slides too far forward, you're going to fall back. If your leg is too far back, you're going to fall forward. So this is a really good exercise to check your position. All right, so she's back up into her 2-point now. And she's coming back to the walk, holding the 2-point. This is very difficult. And back to the trot. And again, back to the posting trot through the short ends so that you don't get fatigued. And again, we're up into the 2-point, asking for walk. And there you could see Vanessa fall back a little bit. So what happened was she was showing us what happens when you get your leg too far forward. In that forward transition, you end up falling back. Here she's going to show us a little bit what happens when your leg isn't secure and maybe falls back and you start pinching in your knee. Right, so we can definitely see a difference in these transitions versus the first one, which was perfect. So again, the 2-point helps us to create stability in the lower leg. All right. So we're continuing here on the left rein in a nice posting trot. She's going to turn up the quarter line where we have placed 3 trot poles. The trot poles for the large pony are set 3 feet apart. Very good. Excellent. Now she's asking the pony to halt, and you can see where the pony pulls her head forward a little bit, so she's definitely resisting the halt. Even though she's halted, she's telling us that she didn't quite like being asked to do that. And we're going to go all the way around and demonstrate that again. Now this time Vanessa is going to make the turn and then go into the 2-point, and we're going to see how the pony reacts to the change of Vanessa's seat when she goes over these 3 trot poles. Now as she goes into her 2-point, she's in what I would call a short crest release. Okay, so if you rewind that back a few times, what you'll see is that the pony didn't stay in the rhythm when she was in the 2-point. She got slow. So she's going to now do it off the right, going into the 2-point, and when she gets up to those poles, she's going to give the pony a little cluck. You probably can't hear it on this. And the pony stays in rhythm. Very good. And continuing through the turn. So when Vanessa went into the 2-point the first time, she didn't have her leg in her seat from the posting trot to help keep the pony motivated and in front of the leg, so the pony fell behind the leg. So the correction is a little bit more supporting leg in the 2-point and a little cluck. We see Vanessa make a 20-meter circle, and now there's 2 poles on the outside. She's again working these in her 2-point, nice and straight, so you can see her stirrup iron is at a 90-degree angle to the girth. The stirrup leather is hanging straight down to the ground, which indicates that Vanessa's leg is in the correct position. She went back to a sitting trot, so she's practicing different seats. So there was a 2-point, now there's a sitting trot, and again, the angles are all very good. Vanessa's got a very good position. She's very well turned out for riding today. Her boots are clean, her hair is up in her helmet with a hairnet. Good, so now we're back up into the 2-point again. If she feels the pony get too quick, she'll... All right, so now she's trying to do a walk transition, which was medium successful, right? It kind of teetered down to like, very slow trot, which we saw that a little bit when we asked the pony to halt. We saw that she wasn't so into us asking her to slow down. But again, in the 2-point, you don't have the use of your seat and your upper body as much. So your pony has to be, or your horse has to be more obedient to the connection in your hand. That was much better. She was able to ask the pony to walk successfully between the poles and then went back to the posting trot. Good. And now we're making another 20-meter circle, and again, you can take a walk break. You should probably walk for 5 minutes at the beginning, work for 10, walk for 5, work for 10, walk for 5, work for 10, and then you're probably done. Good. So now we're just allowing the pony to canter in a half seat. So the half seat is the classical cantering position. Okay. Now Vanessa sits. And when she sits, she's not going to allow the pony's pace to change. She's not going to allow the pony to get faster or slower. But sometimes if you have a horse that's dull to the leg, sitting the canter and kind of helping with your leg and your seat to push them forward can be very helpful. Ideally, they're trained off the leg, but at the beginning of your ride, you might feel that, going to a sitting canter to push them in front of you is better. So again, she's up in her half seat through the circle. So the half seat is used when your canter is just textbook perfect. She's bringing the pony back to the trot, going to change direction. So the half seat is used when everything is just where you want it to be. There's different variations of a sitting canter. So you can sit when you're making a sharp turn, and then there's the driving seat where you actually bring your shoulders back behind your hips and you use your seat along with your leg to increase the impulsion in your canter. So she's back in a sitting canter now in this circle, but I don't call it a driving seat. I would just call it a nice sitting canter. Pony's maintaining the speed. But when you go from a half seat to a sitting canter, the horse or pony might think about braking or changing their pace. So it's something for you to think about as you're working these different seats. And here she's doing something a little different. It's called posting canter. Up, down, and you can see where the pony's pace increased with that posting canter. And back to the trot. So there was a lot of exercises in this video that discussed position and then also discussed different seats. And specifically in the canter, a lot of you may not have ever heard of this posting of the canter. So like I said, the half seat is your canter position when everything's going hunky-dory. Your sitting canter might be for a balancing or maybe a sharper turn. Your driving seat is when you're going to bring your shoulders behind your hips and increase your seat pressure in your leg to push your horse forward. And the posting canter is simply used to maybe find a rhythm. You're not going to see it very often on course, but you might see it for a step or two at the beginning of the course or through a corner to help a rider establish a rhythm. So that's all for our first video. We're hoping to make a few more in the coming days to give everybody some exercises and some visual aids on things you can be working on through your free rides. If there's anything specific that you'd like to see, make sure to send Kelly an email, or you can contact us through our Instagram page. We'd be happy to answer any questions that you might have. And we hope that you all enjoy riding your horses for the next few weeks, and we look forward to getting back to lessons as soon as possible. Take care.